Welcome into ProBox TV's a big fight breakdown. Well, this time it's Big Fight Month breakdown. That's right. Here in South Florida, we're getting ready for hot temperatures. Boxing heating up right now in the month of June. We'll go over all the big fights. We're starting out, as we should, with a top Puerto Rican on his way up. Of course, Puerto Rican Day. That's a great way to introduce yourself to the entire fan base. Well, our panel here is going to discuss the fights coming up for Xander Zayas and everything he means to boxing. But our own Paulie Malignaggi caught up with him earlier, and this is what the young champ had to say about his future and what he intends to do in the sport.
Toughest opponent in my career thus far, but I feel like every fight is tough. Every fight, gets tougher because it's a different opponent, different fighter in front of you, so you gotta adjust to that. So no exception with this one. Obviously, a former world champion, somebody that has a lot of experience, and somebody that is coming to win. I feel like he's coming, he's prepared. He's been calling me out for a year or so now. So it's exciting. It's exciting to fight somebody that has been calling me out, that think he's ready for me, and obviously that has so much experience. Preparation has been going well. We started camp, I want to say 5-6 weeks ago. So we're going to do like a 10-week camp. I'm excited. I feel like I'm ready to show the world that I'm one of the best 154 pounders in the division. And I will prove it starting June 8th.
It's always exciting for a prospect to be turning into a contender. I think a fight like this, would you say, fully brings you into the contender status from prospect status?
Oh yes, definitely. I feel like after this fight, we won the biggest names. I've been calling them. I've been saying that I won Erickson Lubin or Josh Kelly. I feel like those are two fights that we're able to make. I feel like Top Rank can make those fights happen for maybe later this year after Patrick Teixeira. Obviously, focusing first on getting the victory June 8th. But those two names, I feel like are names that we can make something happen. Throughout the year, maybe August, September, or even December, as the Heisman Trophy night that I probably will be fighting on that card.
Well, if you look at the record, look at the tail of the tape, the kid's got the numbers. 18-0, 12 knockouts, taking on the much more experienced Teixeira. But I think the key to this fight isn't what we're seeing on the screen. It isn't about the numbers. It's about the man himself. That's what we'll discuss. As always, here with the panel, Jimmy Smith alongside Paulie Malignaggi, Chris Algieri, ESPN boxing analyst Timothy Bradley joining us via Zoom. Paulie got to talk to this kid. He's got it. Whatever that it is, he's good looking, he's articulate, he's aggressive. When we hear him talk, this kid is 21 years old. I got t-shirts older than this guy, but he dealt with you with confidence. The way he talks about himself, he knows he's that next level guy. When speaking to him, did you get that sense that I'm getting watching it?
I got a feeling that obviously he's well raised. He's a very respectful kid, good manners, good foundation behind him personality-wise. Not a really controversial kid, just a kid that really wants to succeed and do the best he can for himself, for his family, for the Puerto Rican people. He loves the fact that he can represent Puerto Rico on the Puerto Rican Day Parade. It's been an evening where in New York, through the years, especially through Top Rank, a lot of the great Puerto Rican fighters have fought on those weekends. I fought Cotto on that weekend myself back in 06, and we've had.
You've been on the other side of it.
Yeah, I've been on the other side of it, but it is an incredible opportunity to sort of go from the new kid on the block to the man on the block, and I feel like that's where Xander is looking to step this year. That's the sort of the gist I got from him, the feeling I got from him, the energy I got from him when I was speaking to him. He's ready to step into that situation. And you noticed he named a couple of other names on there, like Erickson Lubin, for example, Teixeira himself being an ex-world champion. So he's getting right there to where if he gets these names on his resume and he's able to win these fights, which of course, they will test him a little bit now, I think you're looking at a big 2025 for Xander Zayas.
Chris, here's the deal, champ, is being a Puerto Rican up-and-comer is great. It comes with comparisons to names like you said, Miguel Cotto, Tito Trinidad, Wilfredo Benitez. Is it fair in a sense? I know it's not. Is it fair in a sense? Is there pressure to go with being an up-and-coming Puerto Rican star?
Oh, of course there's pressure, but a kid like, Xander Zayas, he welcomes that. I've been in the gym with him. He's a hard worker, super disciplined guy. I've sparred with him. I've been in the gym with him many, many times. I've seen the work ethic firsthand. I don't think putting any of that on him is too much because he's ready for it. He wants to be there, just like you said, Champ. He's one of those guys he's dead focused on what he is. He said he doesn't have a girlfriend. He's focusing on boxing 100%. I'm married to boxing at this point. He has all the right answers, and not only does he say the right things, he does the right things. I've seen him in the gym. I've seen the discipline. I've seen the work ethic. Obviously, we've seen what he's been able to do in the ring on fight night, and he's been getting better and better. And that's because he's doing that work in the gym. So, I mean, I can't drop any more praise on this young man than I already have. But I think that he has a huge future and potentially being the Puerto Rican star for the next couple years.
Yeah, Tim, when you look at this kind of fight, meaning 17, 18, and over, so the guy was 30 fights, 4 losses, taking on the better talent, a little bit more experienced, former world champion. What do you want to see from the up-and-comer? What do you want to see from the guy who's getting a bump up in experience? How do you want to see him adjust?
Well, this is his first southpaw that he's facing in his professional career. I'm curious to see how he's going to deal with the southpaw. Obviously, Top Rank and the matchmakers they're looking to set him up in future fights. You have the Towering Inferno, who's a southpaw there, Erickson Lubin. So there's several southpaws in the division, and they're trying to prepare him for that. But more importantly, it's more about, getting him exposure. Not only that, it's about, this is a huge, weekend, Puerto Rican weekend. It's huge, man. All the Puerto Ricans going to be out supporting this young man. He's going to fill up this arena. Or I should say the theater. He's going to fill up the theater, but it's all being able to deal with the pressure mentally. This is a kid that usually fights with his emotions. He's going to have to keep those in check. Teixeira is not an easy opponent, although he hasn't made weight 154 pounds in 4 years. That's going to be challenging for him. He's fought as high as 168 pounds. He's still a tough, grimy veteran that knows how to win, and he's going to bring the pressure and bring the fight to Xander Zayas, and depending on how Xander deals with that pressure, we gonna see on that night.
Well, it is not over yet when it comes to talking about Puerto Rican superstars when we come back. That's right, Matias, the knockout king. What do we expect from him? His next fight this June when we come back. Welcome back to the Big Fight Breakdown. We all know about Gervonta Davis, Frank Martin. We're not talking about today. Why? We've broken it down previously. Go to ProBox TV's YouTube channel and check it out yourself. Going to be a great fight. 2 undefeated fighters. Nobody in the division hits like Gervonta Davis. Well, speaking of knockout power, that is what is on display every time Subriel Matias fights. The guy has 20 wins, 20 knockouts. I have said it many times, and my panels agreed with me. There are 2 kinds of fighters. Fighters who haven't been tested at all, and fighters who lose once and they're absolute bums. It's one or the other. The one thing about being a knockout artist, Paulie, I want to ask you first is, people question your ability to get through a fight when you can't knock somebody out. It's like you can't win. Either you knock everybody out or you go the distance.
And then when you're knocking everybody out, they start to wonder what happens when the guys take your power and you go around. So there's always a question somewhere that's brought up, right? And there's always questions that need to be answered. And the more you win, the more questions you answer, and then the more questions are asked, right? So Matias has been that guy. He's sort of the enigma of the 140-pound division. I think the fact that he's Puerto Rican and the fact that he punches like this should make him a bigger star than he has been. I think he's been a bit mispromoted. Usually when you've seen Puerto Rican fighters that come around that are like this guy, that have the qualities that this guy has, typically they are very, very popular. So I think he's been a little bit mismanaged, mispromoted. And I feel like, as dangerous as he is, he may very well be the top guy at 140 pounds, possibly. It's one of the questions. Is he or isn't he? We want to see more of him. We want to see him against the big names who, in this day and age, they're not really quick to get in against each other. But Matias certainly has drawn attention, but from the hardcore fans, he's good enough and has the right nationality to draw attention from all of boxing and even the casuals.
Here's the difference, Chris. You and I have talked about a 140-pound division. The all-time, I think, underrated fighter in that division is Aaron Pryor, who, once again, great boxer, great fighter, just couldn't get the right names to come to him. This is a different story. 140 is full of big names. Why do you think, Chris, to Paulie's point, he isn't the first name we think about at 140?
I think it's because it's such a talent-rich division. I mean, you got guys that are really big names that have been there for a bit too. You got the Devin Haney's, the Teofimo Lopez's. You've got Cruz, Isaac Cruz, Pitbull Cruz, who just stepped up to 140, just picked up a title, beating Rolando Romero, who Rollies is a big name as well. So there's a lot of names, and I think Subriel Matias is going to fit in nicely with any one of those guys. He just has to get a shot, and that's one of the things that's been tough to get because, like the champ said, one, he's dangerous. And 2, he's not as well known, so you're taking a big risk. But he has a title. Titles have power. They have negotiating power, and they have reasons for guys to have to fight you now. Subriel Matias getting a title was really important for him because there was no reason to fight him otherwise. He's a very dangerous guy. He knocks everybody out. And if you're not going to get a title off of beating him or stepping in with him, what's the point? Because he's not that well known.
There's just no excuse for him not being well known, though, man. I mean, this guy has, if you look at coming up, the qualities he's shown, and again, being the Puerto Rican fighter, I mean, there's not a lot of difference with like the boogeyman that was Felix Trinidad when he was coming up, and somebody like Subriel Matias who's a boogeyman when he's coming up. Absolutely.
But that's why signing with Matchroom was a really smart move on his part, because now they're bringing him down to Puerto Rico, which is a great idea. First defense, put him down in Puerto Rico where he's from, get his built-in natural fan base. It's gonna elevate him. We hear about in the comments all the time about where's Subriel Matias, where's Subriel Matias. All those fans are gonna get to see him highlight a main card. He has not been a headliner on a card yet. This is it. This is his first title defense. It's in his hometown. He's headlining on a massive platform. So, Matchroom was a good move.
He got Paro.
Liam Paro. Very tough fight, too. Not an
This
easy
is,
fight.
again, to make a Trinidad comparison, I can remember Trinidad against Troy Waters.
Yeah.
The other Australian.
Yeah.
So you're moving up. All right, let's go. Let's get it done.
Yeah, so Tim, from that angle, Paro's undefeated as well. This kid is 24-0. What are your thoughts about how he deals with the power of Matias? How does you see this fight going tactically speaking?
Tactically speaking, well, first of all, let me just say this is going to be Subriel Matias' fifth undefeated fighter that he's facing. Paro, highly rated, good southpaw. Heard some things about him in sparring session with Shakur Stevenson and other guys around the circuit of boxing. Got some skills. But what I see, honestly, he's going to have to maintain distance. That's the problem. Matias, he'll allow you to get comfortable. He'll allow you to punch on him. He puts that high guard up. He'll walk you down. He'll slowly start picking with his jab, put combinations together on you. I don't see him as a one-punch guy. He's more of an accumulation type of puncher. He has heavy hands. And once he starts to lay on you and lay those hands on you, what ends up happening is you end up having to stay still. You're going to have to defend against that. And he's going to press forward. And once he gets you spooked, man, and have you on that backpedaling and trying to get away, he just applies more and more pressure on you and just generate, forward momentum coming forward. And then he'll eventually get the stoppage. But I don't know. I don't think Paro's that guy, man. I really don't. You can close the gap on him. He doesn't have a great educated jab to keep a guy like Matias off of him, I feel. He'll oppose himself early on, but I think as the fight goes on, I think that Matias is just he's gonna find his mark, and he's eventually gonna knock him out. He's gonna catch him, he's gonna hurt him, and he's gonna finish him.
Paulie, one last question for you is: do we see that unification fight for Matias? Should he win? Should he look impressive with the showcase Chris is talking about?
You would hope so, but I don't know. I don't unless the Saudis are doing something today. I don't see guys fighting each other. I really don't. And the 140-pound division has been one of the more frustrating ones. To some really big names.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to see Haney getting in with him next, right after the fight that he just had with Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Teofimo Lopez is fighting coming up next month. That fight could be possible, but again, it's top rank in Matchroom. And then Isaac Cruz, it seems like he's got his own idea of where he's going. That would be a great fight, though. I'm not sure if it's plausible to make. But, yeah, again, there are the obstacles for Matias to get his shots.
Well, he's the real boogeyman of the division, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's the real boogeyman of the division. Nobody wants to step foot in the ring with this guy at all. It's a shame. You got all these big names there. Nobody ever calls this guy's name. You want to know why? Because they know he's extremely dangerous. Now, you can say that, yes, they do fear him. However, if the money was right, I think these guys would take the fight.
Well, I think he's promotable enough to where the money should be right, but because he hasn't been promoted, there's not enough push behind him now. Because there's no excuse for this guy to not be as popular as he should be. Puerto Rican, big puncher. We've seen that mold before generate a lot of money and a lot of popularity.
He may be better off looking bad against Paro, actually. He might be able to get those fights.
Looking beatable,
yeah,
in a sense.
I don't think so.
I
personally don't think so, but we'll see. We'll see. I think
a lot of good fights are made after bad performances.
It's very
you're absolutely right. Sometimes you got to look human. You can be exactly. You can get beaten, but I think Paro's the right guy for him, man. Again, he has to be able to maintain distance. He languishes along the ropes too often for me. I see him having some success early, maybe with the backhand But as soon as Matias finds his mark, man, and he breaks him down little by little, it's going to be a wrap. He's going to get another stoppage.
Speaking of promotions and promoting our own ProBox TV, huge fight coming up at the end of the month. Lamont Roach will discuss his fight when we come back. Welcome back into the big fight breakdown here on ProBox TV. We're getting through June. Now on the 28th and 29th, a set of fights you're not going to want to miss. Lamont Roach defends his WBA super featherweight title versus Feargal McCrory. This is on our own ProBox TV, Washington, D.C. hometown fight for Lamont Roach. Paulie, what are you expecting on this fight? It's going to be exciting, a lot of energy anytime you have a fight in D.C. What are you looking forward to?
Well, Lamont fighting there, headlining as a world champion, it's an exciting time for him. Lamont was one of those fighters that has been at it for a while, and so to finally be able to grab that world championship off of, I think he got it off of Garcia. I think that now, after this long time coming, he can finally try to push himself a little bit more and step into the big time. In a 130-pound division that, it's kind of lacking in big names. It's had some big names in recent years, but it's sort of lacking in big names. There's sort of
coming and going.
Yeah, there's sort of a vacuum there where Lamont can sort of pick up some name notoriety and bring some attention to a weight class that right now has the attention a little bit north at 135 pounds. So.
Now, skills-wise, do you think he has the combination to have that long run Paulie's talking about? Crafty, he's technical. What are your thoughts?
I think he's always had the skills. I think he lacked maturity, and I think that he's a different kind of fighter now. I remember calling his fight with Jamel Herring. That was his first title shot, and he got pretty much outboxed most of the night. He actually hurt Jamel late in the fight. But it was that level of maturity that I don't think was there yet. We saw in the Hector Luis Garcia fight where he won the title. Hector Luis Garcia, tough guy, good effort by both of them. But Lamont showed that skill set. He showed that slickness. And I think he might be one of those guys where they say, what's the number? When you win a world title, you get like 30% better or something like that. I feel like he's taking this to heart, and he's going home to defend it. He's got a very tough guy in front of him. Very, very proud Irishman who's going to come and bring his all. So it really is a makeup for a good night for Lamont Roach to showcase those skills if he did improve now that he is a champion.
I got a question for you, Tim. When it comes to Gallo Estrada taking on Bam Rodriguez, what we're getting out of reports from the gym is that Bam is going to war with Chocolatito Gonzalez. It's amazing. Their sparring sessions, blah, 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 blah. I always take sparring stories with a grain of salt, right? You never know what's coming out of the gym. You never know if what's going on in the gym will be reflected in the fight. Tim, what's your thought on stories like that, man?
Sparring sessions. They're sparring session. They're practice. You can get a little understanding of yourself, especially, at that level. When you're facing a guy like Chocolatito or sparring a guy like that of that nature, man, and you're doing well against them, you should be able to do well against Estrada at the end of the day. It builds your confidence. That's all it is. But it's work at the end of the day. It's not the fight. It's not under bright lights. It's not with the small gloves, the pressure, of the fans being there, so on and so forth. You're not making weight, although you are trying to attempt to make weight and you're losing weight. You're not, low in weight at the end of the day. But, I take them with a grain of salt as well. Even with the Tank and the Martin fight, I take all of this stuff with a grain of salt. I'm expecting a war. I'm expecting a war in this fight. Estrada, Bam Rodriguez has been extremely impressive. But Estrada, he's been out for, a year and 6 months? I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the long layoff. But it's going to be an entertaining fight, people. Trust me, it will be an entertaining fight.
Chris, I'm curious, man. The training you've done, the nutrition experience you have, 34 years old by boxing standards, certainly not a spring chicken. But as Tim said, the time off and that age, what's the right formula? Should fighters at that age be fighting less? Should they be fighting more active, less sparring? What's your thought on it?
Well, he's especially old because of the weight class. We don't see guys age well
not old at
in the older
heavyweight.
weights. I mean, Chocolatito is a bit of an anomaly. He was able to come back even at an advanced age, but he had a guy in Martinez who was really, not doing the right things outside of the ring, and he showed up pretty flat, and Chocolatito got to shine. He got another day in the sun. And now he's making a comeback as well. These guys, they're special for sure, but I agree with you, Tim. I think the youthful vitality of Bam Rodriguez, not to mention his skill level, and the level he's at in terms of where he's been doing in the ring. You spoke about that sparring session. Yeah, that might matter if Bam was just coming up. Bam's a multiple-time world champion. He's on that level. He would be fighting a guy like Chocolatito. So getting in and sparring him, I don't really think that does anything for him, honestly. It just, you can say, yeah, I spar with a legend. But guess what? I've been beating legends in the ring, like, for real. And he's fighting another legend in Estrada. And I think this fight's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be fantastic. Estrada doesn't know how to be in a bad fight. But I think Bam is just on a different level, man. He's showing improvement every time out. And I think that, combined with the fact that he is youthful, he is excited for these opportunities now, I would favor him for sure.
Well, speaking of a youthful fighter, we expected big things out of languishing a little bit. The future of Teofimo Lopez and his fight coming up when we come back. Welcome back to ProBox TV's Big Fight Breakdown. We're discussing all the fights left to go in June. It is a great slate of fights. When you talk about stars, Teofimo Lopez was a guy, when he defeated Vasily Lomachenko, we thought he would maybe carry this division or carry boxing itself in the next couple of years. His next fight, Steve Claggett. Claggett has 7 losses, 2 draws in 47 fights. Not exactly a highlight reel resume. Paulie, during the break, we're going, who's he fighting again? We were all doing, oh yeah, Steve Claggett. Not where we thought Teofimo Lopez would be at this point in his career a couple years ago. What's your thought?
You know what? I feel like Teofimo has fought a lot of tough fights that probably a lot of guys have avoided. I'm not saying he's due a soft touch, because I've seen Claggett. He's a veteran, and he's not an easy touch, but he's sort of a veteran guy who's been around, kind of failed at the highest level, but still a very capable guy who's on a good streak right now. Honestly, man, you know, it's one of those fights where you're saying, okay, he didn't look so great in his last fight, you know, so let's see what he's got here against Claggett, who, again, has always failed at the higher level, but has always been rather solid.
The question, though, is a kid who is 26 years old. Chris, this is when you're prime, making the most money, you're doing the best things. Fighters around this division, when it comes to Loma, when it comes to Devin Haney, those guys are fighting huge fights. Look what Loma's done recently with the comeback fight, destroying George Kambosos Jr. Why isn't Teofimo Lopez in that mix?
Because he's so hot and cold. He has the classic definition of a guy who performs to the level of his opposition. You know, when he fights guys that are tip-top, he looks tip-top. I mean, the Taylor fight was excellent. The Lomachenko fight was excellent. But then he's got, you know, the Sandor Martin fight. He's got the Jermaine Ortiz fight. You know, we'll see how he looks against Claggett. Claggett, not only you say he lost at the highest level, he's lost at the middle domestic level as well. You know, so you know, on paper.
But he's hot and cold too.
But he's hot and cold too, and he's been on a heater lately and looking good. It's by no means, you know, necessarily an easy fight. It could end up being a tough fight. It just depends on what version of Teofimo Lopez shows up.
Yeah, Tim, what's your thought on Teofimo Lopez, the state of his career right now?
Well, I mean, for namesake, I think the Claggett fight, it sounds terrible, but I think it's going to be a better fight than what many people expect. Claggett hasn't lost in 3 years, guys. You know, he's been on a run.
He's on here.
Yeah, he definitely is. And he applies pressure. And the one thing that I think that could surprise Teofimo Lopez is the jab of Claggett, man. He has an excellent jab coming forward, good head movement side to side. And as you know, Teofimo Lopez is a counterpuncher. He likes guys to come to him. But to break his rhythm, you got to have a good jab. Claggett has a great jab. So it's going to be interesting. Claggett's going to bring the fight to Teofimo Lopez. It's going to be an explosive fight, man, because Teo likes guys to come forward. Teo's not going to have to go look for him, you know, like he had to do against Ortiz. But, you know, it's not the name. It's not the name that we want. But I'm going to just tell you guys at home, it's going to be a very entertaining fight. It's a reset for Teofimo.
I also think the criticism is also a bit overrated on Teofimo, because I want to see who's looked good against Jermaine Ortiz or against Xander Martin. Everybody avoids those guys too. When they fight them, they always look bad. Those are not easy guys. And let me tell you something. Xander Martin is the mandatory for the WBC title, which is Haney's title. That guy's not easy to deal with.
We'll see how that one goes, but it's about the excitement of Teofimo Lopez. Can he bring it back in his career? It's a full slate in June. We'll discuss every single fight before and after as we do. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.